Welcome to History with Herodotus, where we delve into the depths of human experience, navigating the vast expanse of time, and uncovering the intricate tapestry that has woven our world into its present form. Today, we embark on a journey to one of the most pivotal moments in modern history, the Battle of Stalingrad, a confrontation that would test the mettle of nations, armies, and the human spirit itself. It was not merely a clash of steel and gunfire, but a maelstrom of ideologies, strategies, and wills that would reshape the course of World War II. Located on the banks of the Volga River in southern Russia, Stalingrad, now known as Volgograd, became the focal point of one of history's most brutal and decisive battles. Our journey begins several years prior to the battle itself, in the tumultuous landscape of Europe and Russia during the early 1940s. The Second World War had engulfed the continent, pitting the Axis powers against the Allies. Germany, under Adolf Hitler, had been making aggressive advances across Europe since 1939, leaving a trail of conquest and devastation in its wake. In June 1941, Germany launched Operation Barbarossa, a massive invasion of the Soviet Union that caught the Red Army off guard. The initial successes of the German forces were substantial, with deep penetrations into Soviet territory. However, the harsh Russian winter of 1941 to 1942, coupled with the resilience and determination of the Soviet people, began to slow the German advance. As the war raged on, both sides suffered heavy losses, but the strategic initiative remained with the Germans until they faced their first major defeat at Moscow in the winter of 1941. Despite this setback, Hitler's ambitions for territorial expansion and resource control, particularly oil, led him to set his sights on the Caucasus region. The summer of 1942 saw a renewed German offensive aimed at securing the oil fields of Baku and the strategic city of Stalingrad, which controlled access to the Volga River. The capture of Stalingrad would not only provide Germany with a crucial source of oil, but also split the Soviet Union, potentially crippling its ability to wage war. Under the command of General Friedrich Paulus, the German Sixth Army was tasked with taking Stalingrad. Meanwhile, the Soviet forces, led by General Georgy Zhukov and later by General Vasily Chuikov for the Sixth Second Army, were preparing for a desperate defense of their city. As we approach the eve of the battle, it is crucial to understand the mindset of those involved. For the Soviet soldiers, Stalingrad was more than just a city. It was a symbol of Soviet resilience and a testament to the unwavering resolve of its people. The Germans, on the other hand, saw it as a strategic prize that would pave their way to victory in the East. In August 1942, the first rumblings of what would become the Battle of Stalingrad began to echo through the streets and outskirts of the city. German forces advanced toward Stalingrad, encountering fierce resistance from Soviet troops who were determined to hold their ground at all costs. As the battle commenced, both sides found themselves embroiled in a conflict that would push human endurance to its limits. The initial clashes marked the beginning of a grueling campaign that would see both armies locked in a struggle for every inch of territory, every building, and every street corner. As the battle commenced, the city of Stalingrad was transformed into a maze of rubble and ruin, with both armies engaged in a relentless struggle for dominance. The German Sixth Army, under General Friedrich Paulus, pushed forward with determination, but the Soviet defenders, led by General Vasily Chuikov, held firm, employing innovative tactics such as hugging the enemy, staying so close to the German lines that their own artillery couldn't target them without risking friendly fire. On September 14, 1942, the Germans launched a fierce assault on the city, aiming to capture the key strategic location of Mamayev Kurgan, a hill overlooking the Volga River. The Soviet forces, however, had prepared a series of defensive lines, and the battle for Mamayev Kurgan became one of the most intense and bloodiest fights of the entire campaign. For days, the two armies clashed in brutal hand-to-hand combat, with neither side able to gain a decisive advantage. As the battle raged on, the Soviet Air Force began to make its presence felt, launching a series of bombing raids against German positions and supply lines. On October 5, 1942, a massive Soviet air raid struck the German-held airport at Pitomnik, destroying dozens of aircraft and crippling the enemy's ability to resupply their troops. This marked a significant turning point in the battle, as the Germans began to feel the strain of their overextended supply lines. Meanwhile, General Georgy Zhukov, the overall commander of Soviet forces on the Eastern Front, was secretly assembling a massive reserve army to the north and south of Stalingrad. Codenamed Operation Uranus, this ambitious plan aimed to encircle the German Sixth Army and cut off their escape routes. As the Germans continued to push forward into the city, they were unaware of the gathering storm on their flanks. On November 19, 1942, the Soviet forces launched Operation Uranus with a massive artillery barrage and a series of coordinated attacks on the German flanks. The Romanian Third Army, which had been tasked with holding the German right flank, was quickly overwhelmed, and the Soviet tanks poured through the gap, heading straight for the German rear. As the news of the encirclement reached General Paulus, he realized that his army was trapped, with no clear escape route. With over 200 confirmed kills to his credit, Zaitsev had become a thorn in the side of the German army, and his exploits were widely publicized in the Soviet press. As the Soviet forces closed in on the encircled German Sixth Army, General Friedrich Paulus faced an impossible decision: attempt to break out or surrender. Despite Hitler's orders to hold out, Paulus knew that his army was doomed, and on January 31, 1943, he defied the Führer's instructions and requested permission to surrender. The response from Berlin was predictable. Hitler refused, and Paulus was forced to continue fighting a lost cause. The final days of the battle were brutal, with Soviet troops methodically reducing the German pocket, block by block, house by house. On February 2, 1943, the last remnants of the German Sixth Army surrendered, marking the end of the Battle of Stalingrad. The Soviet Union had won a crushing victory, but at enormous cost. Estimates suggest that over 1 million Soviet soldiers were killed or wounded during the battle. In the aftermath of the battle, the city of Stalingrad lay in ruins, its buildings reduced to rubble, its streets littered with the bodies of the dead and dying. As one Soviet soldier recalled, the city was a graveyard, a vast cemetery of stone and steel, where the living were forced to walk among the dead. The Soviet government would eventually rebuild Stalingrad, but the scars of the battle would never fully heal. The Battle of Stalingrad marked a major turning point in the war on the Eastern Front, as the German army never fully recovered from the loss of its Sixth Army. As the Soviet Union began to push the Germans back, the tide of the war slowly began to shift in favor of the Allies. The battle also had a profound impact on the Soviet people, who saw it as a symbol of their resilience and determination in the face of overwhelming odds. As Nikita Khrushchev would later say, the Battle of Stalingrad was a beacon of hope, a shining example of what could be achieved through courage, sacrifice, and determination. Today, the Battle of Stalingrad is remembered as one of the most significant battles in human history, a testament to the brutality and sacrifices of war. The city of Volgograd, as Stalingrad is now known, remains a place of pilgrimage for veterans and historians alike, with its memorial complex and museum serving as a poignant reminder of the battle's legacy. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, remember that, to understand the present, we must first understand the past.